All right, so it's 4:40, and when I found out what time my session was at, I mixed it up a little bit, so this will be more of a hands-on workshop than perhaps the ones you've been used to so far. So I invite all of you to come with me on this journey, just commit to meeting some people, maybe people you haven't met before, saying hello, finding conversation partners, just to give you an idea of kind of what to expect. So thank you so much for still being here, still being energetic, and joining me today. And I'm super excited to spend some time discussing how to market technical products. I sort of have fallen into this niche of marketing super technical, or for some more technical terminology, nerdy is the way I would describe them, products. I love it. It's something I find super impactful and challenging. And so I wanted to spend the next few minutes just kind of talking about it and jumping right in. All right, so let me start by talking a little bit about sort of who I am. Sorry, I don't think I know how to work this. That's what I thought I did. Marketing technical products, very good at them. Oh, yay! OK, so I'll start by introducing myself really quickly. We'll do a quick check-in in the room. We'll go through some frameworks and techniques that I have found super helpful in my career. We'll try out some of them, as I said, hands-on workshop. And finally, we'll kind of wrap up with some of my super tried and tested methods to break through communication gridlocks, persuade partner teams, and really get things moving. So we'll talk a lot about messaging and how to get all of that really to a wonderful place. But if you can't execute, ultimately, there's really no point. And so that's kind of what we'll talk about at the very end. All right, so this is very quickly about me. The size of the bullet on that first one is very off, and I'm going to blame converting from Google Slides to PowerPoint. Everybody should just always use Google Slides. So I'm currently a product marketer at Google, if that last sentence wasn't clue enough. And before Google, as Jason so kindly introduced me, I was leading Square's remote point-of-sale product. And previous to that, I led PMM for cybersecurity incubations at Microsoft. I was at business school before joining Microsoft, where I interned at VMware. And I worked on VMware Kubernetes engine, so again, super technical product. And previous to that, I was director of marketing at a startup called Crossover, where I worked on a workplace analytics product. So from that introduction, I think you can gather I worked at all kind of sizes of B2B companies, from being like employee number 10 at a tiny startup to these like huge organizations like Google and Microsoft with hundreds of thousands of employees. But in addition to that, I guess, that previous slide was just a part of who I am. I'm an English major through and through. I love writing, lover of fantasy books and TV shows. I love food, as that middle picture shows you. And you also see some pictures of my beloved family there, including my husband, my sister, and my parents. Currently live here in the Bay Area, where my husband and I love exploring the outdoors, watching movies, and exploring new foods. OK, enough about me. So as I said, I want to get to know all of you a little bit more. So let's start by taking a kind of a quick pulse check of this room. Let's everyone go with me here, stand up. I know, it's the end of a very packed day. We're all tired. The movement will be good. OK, now I want you to sit down if you have never marketed a B2B product. OK, that's a very small percentage of the room. Of those still standing, sit down if you market products that you would not consider technical, and you can define technical however you like. All right, so it looks like a huge part of this room already does and knows all of the challenges of what I call technical marketing. Probably, actually, most definitely, all of you know it better than me in some ways, and can definitely share some insights and learnings with me. I'd love to catch up. So what I'm going to do today is just talk through some of the key things that I have learned over kind of my experience. So all those still standing and everybody who also sat down, let's quickly find a conversation partner in like a minute. Just turn to whoever's next to you. It can be a group of 3, it can be a group of 2. Okay, I want you to discuss two questions. These are your questions. If you haven't found a partner yet, has everyone found a partner? Okay, looks good. Are you partnerless? You should talk to her. Okay, all right. Thank you for humoring me and having a quick chat. Let's come back from those conversations. So now that we're all friends, I hope, or frenemies, if you found someone who works for a competitor, I don't know, let's jump into some of my own learnings that I think have been super helpful as I market technical products. I'm not going to go through every step of, from messaging to launch. Instead, I'm just going to focus on a few specific areas that I find both especially challenging, but also especially impactful for marketing technical products. And where I'm going to start, actually, is with benefits messaging. So unlike some less technical products, with technical products, benefits are not always clear at first glance. My favorite story about this is, I'll tell you. So at a former company, a PM comes up to me during annual planning, and he says, oh, just make sure we resource for L5 support for product X. So I say, great, well, let's talk about this L5 support. Like, why is this good for our users? What is it? He says, well, it's good for our users because it's L5 support, which is better than L4. And then he kind of looks at me expectantly, like it was obvious. Like, what else was there to say? It's L5 support. And so that's, of course, where we come in. So our products don't go to market with taglines like L5 support, it's better than L4. So let's talk about how I actually got around this L5 support situation and kind of the most powerful framework I think I've discovered to find out what the benefits of a product actually are, why it was built, et cetera. And why we really need this framework is, as I found out, L5 support was actually pretty cool. So we want to be able to take these kind of pieces of code, these really innovative capabilities that our partner teams are building, and then translate them, explain them, kind of be their voice in a way that our users understand. So really being that bridge between what's being built and what's being bought. All right, so what's the framework? I like to call it the 5 kind of question framework. It's not very technical. You don't need to write down a whole lot of notes. It's very simple. When a product or kind of feature is being delivered and when the engineer or PM comes to me with a new thing they've built is when I employ this framework. And what I do is walk through 5 levels at least of questioning. So I usually start with, why did you build this thing? Taking my example from that last slide, because L5 support is better than L4, we know. Great, why is L5 support better than L4? So that's my second level. Well, the service level agreement for L5 support guarantees 99.999, or what is called 5.9 reliability for this service, compared to L4, which only gave 4 nines. Still very confusing. Okay, why is that good for users? Well, it means that the users using the service can be guaranteed of its reliability. It's number 3, that was the third question. 4, why is that good for users? Because any business that they're running on the service will be super reliable, and they'll be able to serve their customers 24/7, never face service outages, et cetera. All right, we finally got there. So we got from L5 support to what the user need actually is. And finally, you could maybe even ask one more level, why is that good for users? Well, businesses want to grow revenue and delight their customers, and that's why this is good for our users. So let's try to carry this out in the room right now. Let's go back to our conversation partners, as I mentioned, or if you're working on a very secret product or capability that you really want to try this on that you don't want to talk about due to NDA reasons, feel free to also just take notes or type. I'd encourage chatting. And then let's go through this list of you start with, tell me what the name of the product or feature is. Why did you build this thing? And then keep asking why until you feel you've gotten to the user need. I just want you to see what this looks like in action, how fun it can be, how kind of interesting and revelatory it can be. All right, I'm going to encourage you to find partners again if you can. Let's switch partners. This is about a good time to switch partners. Okay, all right. I am going to have to cut off these conversations. It's so good to see everybody chatting, but let's come back. Let's come back. All right, guys. Okay, moving on. Let's come back. How was that? How did that go? Does anyone want to share? How did that go? Good? Fun? It was fun? All right, you liked it. Great. Okay. All right, guys. Is my mic working? Maybe not. All right, everybody, let's get back. This is so fun. It's so nice to see everybody chatting and having a good time. I'm so glad. This makes me really happy. Okay. So now let's assume we've done that super cool exercise with all of the product managers and engineers, and we've done everything else we need to do, and we have a great messaging framework, and we're ready to go out and communicate. At this stage, there's two pitfalls that I have noticed, both in my own work, in my colleagues' work, in work of other marketing companies that market to me often, that can trip up a B2B technical marketer. The first one is clarity. I think in the last session, clarity came up as well and how important it is in messaging. I think it gains a special relevance in technical B2B marketing because what we're trying to explain is often so complicated. And because the benefits accrue to like not just one person, but several teams within a company, perhaps several different personas. And so you want to tell the full story. I get it. You want to tell an exhaustive story. However, in pursuit of telling an exhaustive story, sometimes we compromise clarity. So let me tell you, raise your hand if you know what this sentence means. This industry-leading enterprise project management as a service, EPMAAS, tool architects scenario-based micro-platforms powered by automation and AI. Yeah, you probably look like Keanu Reeves right there, right? It's what I look like. Now what if I say, well, this tool creates different workspaces for different work tasks you have, like resolving a customer complaint or developing a new feature. It can predict which task will need what kind of workspace, saving you time and saving your project manager's time. I think that's a lot better. And that image of the lake right there is supposed to represent this because it's so clear. Get it? Am I funny? Maybe. Who knows? So clarity is something I would really encourage you to keep an eye on as you go through your messaging, as you create any of your assets, as you review them, when they kind of come in from your agencies. By the way, that was a made-up product with kind of made-up messaging. I'm not trying to pull any real product in here. But I do see complex messaging like this out in the wild every day. I get emails, messages, ads, brochures, what have you, from sellers of marketing software, analytics software, whoever will want to target me, essentially, as a B2B customer. So clarity first is kind of that first key takeaway, or the way to overcome this challenge that is really important. Since you know I'm a huge fan of exercises, I will tell you one that I do, and then we can take a poll on whether we want to actually try it out or not. So here's how this exercise goes. I call it the Smart High School Freshman Test. So if you had to explain what your product is, who it's for, and why is it better than competing products to a smart high school freshman, how would you do it? Would they understand what you're saying? Remember, they're smart high school freshmen, so they obviously understand longer words and complex ideas, but they don't understand industry jargon, such as EPMAAS. Try to use this. I use this test on all of my materials. And if, for me, my answer is no, a smart high school freshman would not understand this, it's time to go back to the drawing board and just clarify even more. Actually, there's some pretty cool tools out there, like, I don't know if any of you have used Hemingway app that tells you how complex your writing is. Oh, you have? Well, please try it out. It's really cool. That tells you how complex your writing is. Sometimes it gives you a reading level, so this would be very clear to someone at X grade reading level. And I like to say there's no such thing as too much clarity. Your story will always benefit from more clarity. So for me, honestly, it's launch time. So that's the way I stop clarifying. It's like, oh, hey, there's 1 week to launch. Legal needs to review this. Stop editing your messaging. So maybe don't take it that far. So what we could do, although we don't have to in the interest of time, is to kind of try out this high school exercise. So what we could do is talk to our partners again about what is the product or feature that you market or that you love, assuming they're a high school freshman. Do we want to do this? Hands up. Some people want to do this. Oh my gosh, more people than I expected want to do this. But probably not enough. So, all right, I will let this go and move on. However, let's assume you've done the exercise. We're marketers. We can imagine scenarios, right? So then you would have gotten an idea of kind of how impactful and difficult this exercise can actually be. This is like probably one of the most difficult review cycles I do with all of my material. All right, so first pitfall we've managed to avoid. Only the ones who did that exercise, imaginary, through clarity. But the second pitfall is equally concerning, I think, and equally common in B2B settings. It is very easy for us to forget, and I am very guilty of this as well, that we are people talking to other people. It says business to business, but what's a business? It's made up of people. So you're a person, you're talking to another person, you're not a robot. That's why that GIF is on there, to remind you that. And if you can connect with that other human, either in front of you, on the other side of your assets, your brochure, maybe they're a salesperson, maybe they're a customer, maybe they're a partner who's helping you sell. That's what's really going to make your messaging effective and scale. So every one of your personas, your marketing Marys and IT Ivans, every single one of them is a human being. They just want you to talk to them, like this person on this GIF here. I actually don't know who they are. So if anyone does, let me know later. In simple, engaging words, maybe splash in some humor. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't, like that thing about the woman who I don't know that clearly didn't work. But never forget that while selling to businesses, a business is just you. For someone else, you're their B2B, you're their marketing Mary, you're their product marketer Peter. And think about how you want to be talked to, and make sure that everything you say, all of your messaging, all of your materials are simple and human. So I like to give it what I call the read it aloud test. Take it, find a colleague who's not a product marketer in your role. This is important. It has to be someone that may be a product marketer, maybe a marketer, but does not market your specific product, and talk to them about it. Is it weird saying it? Do you feel like you're a robot? Are you tripping over words? Does it feel like you could say this at a dinner party over coffee, over wine, if someone asks you, hey, what do you work on? What's your product? If you can't, it's maybe time to give it a once-over. And I understand that not all materials are intended for that kind of a context. So of course, be context-aware, think about what's important, but never forget that all marketing is people to people. OK, so we've discussed our cool discovery framework and kind of our 2 pitfalls that all of our messaging needs to overcome. Let's finally talk about kind of getting things done. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, I have been skipping through parts of the process. I'm not going through every single thing you need to do in order to launch. But this, I think, is really key, especially at larger organizations, or organizations where the selling cycle is complex, the product is complex, several teams are involved, et cetera. So all important matters, whether in Middle-earth or right here, need collaboration. Just as everybody in this picture, the elves and the dwarves and the humans, had to align on what were we going to do? Frodo was going to take the ring to Mount Doom. How were we going to do it? 9 people were going to be assigned to do it. You have to bring together, as a product marketer, product managers, marketing communications managers, PR, AR, creative teams, get them excited by your vision, and really communicate. So one thing I like doing, and this is maybe a little bit involved, so you don't necessarily need to do this for everyone, but the way I think about it is a lesson I actually take from another one of my favorite fantasies, Game of Thrones. In this scene, Olenna Tyrell, this old lady on here for the 3 of you who've never seen Game of Thrones, advises the Khaleesi Daenerys Targaryen to be a dragon, which translation is rely on your strengths to achieve your goals. So we're not dragons, sadly, and what can this really have to do with persuading cross-functional teams? Well, we're marketers, and our core skill really and strength is in persuading other people to do things. So whether that's our customer to click a button, whether it's our sales team to use our deck, or whether it's a cross-functional team, say like a marketing communications manager, to update their website with our product messaging. So what I like to do, like I said, is really think through, or even write out sometimes, a mini marketing plan for each internal stakeholder that I work with. I'll think about every audience that I really need to collaborate with me to make a product launch successful, and I'll work through a very quick marketing plan. So for example, suppose I'm working with our marketing communications manager. I'll say, OK, what's my goal? Influence the website design team to create a web page for our product launch. Who's the persona? Taylor, the marketing communications manager. What are her pain points? Well, she has a ton of internal requests. It's difficult for her to prioritize. She needs to hit her own OKRs related to things like conversion and impressions, et cetera. What does she need? She needs engaging content from her PMMs to help her hit those goals. And also potentially simple descriptions to help her prioritize which product should go in a priority position versus not, what are the higher level strategy, et cetera. Funnel stage, well, think about, does Taylor know about your product? Does she have any idea this exists? Does she know it's coming up in a roadmap? Has she heard about it before? Sometimes she may be in awareness stage, sometimes she may be in consideration stage. Kind of think through which stage this person might be in. And then finally, based on that, this is what we do. This is our job, create a marketing strategy. So in this case, I pulled some data about high engagement for this particular product's messaging on our other channels, on social media, for example, and was able to also pull a team-level strategy deck to show her that, hey, not only is this a high priority for us at the team level, but it'll also help you hit your goals. And it worked out really well. We got our webpage updated, our product launched perfectly fine. OK, so that is all for now. To recap very quickly, we discussed our discovery framework to really dig deep and uncover those actual customer benefits, not platform benefits, technical benefits, product benefits, but how is this actually helping your customer? We talked about two common pitfalls, clarity and connection, that can happen to most B2B or technical messaging, and walk through a few exercises that can help you fix that. If any of you have ideas for how to address those challenges, I definitely don't have all the answers. I'm learning, so please find me during the breaks at the happy hour and let me know how you do it at your company. And finally, we kind of discussed a very simple method to get everybody within your company excited with inspiration from Game of Thrones. So I could talk about marketing technical products for like hours. I'm a nerd, as you may have guessed from all of those fantasy references. But please do not hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you'd like to hear from me, super optional. I will send out a monthly newsletter once in a while. Well, once a month, a monthly newsletter about pretty much anything that interests me. So if you just want to keep up with my thoughts on marketing and technology and books and fantasy, yeah, feel free to sign up. But Jason, we can.
Yeah, we'll get into Q&A, but first, everyone give it up for Rukma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Oh, also, side note, Rukma's going to be taking over this job tomorrow. So she's going to be the chair, the MC.
Yes.
So this is almost like a passing of the torch. It's kind of.
So you know
nice.
to expect icebreakers by now.
All right. So first question, is it ever OK to have very tech-heavy messaging? How about if you have a very technical or developer-first audience?
Yeah, I think developer marketing is its like kind of slightly separate kettle of fish, because it's very important with developer marketing to maintain credibility. There's so many different products and tools and applications and platforms vying for their attention all the time. And as developers, I think they trust you more if you can demonstrate you have some technical knowledge. That being said, no one likes jargon, them included. So it actually demonstrates your clarity of technical thought if you can take a very complicated concept and explain it in kind of simple, elegant terms to the developers that you're talking to.
Nice. All right, next one. How do you get buy-in from leadership for marketing pushes that they don't see the value of, but you believe it should be where you should put your time and energy?
Oh, why are we assuming I know how to do this? No, I'm kidding. So I would say I follow the mini marketing plan approach that I mentioned, but dialed up to 3 different levels. So I will do one-on-ones with all of the respective leaders who I know are going to say, come together for a review board meeting next week. Then I will try to get, like if I hear differing opinions from 2 of those leaders, I will try to get the 2 of them in a room together with me and talk through, hey, like you said tangent A, you said tangent B. I think we should go via path C. Let's talk about it. So that's kind of like level 2. And level 3, I think leaders usually trust data. So if I have the roadmap and the resourcing to go run a very quick experiment to prove why this marketing push is valuable, why it's a good use of time and energy, I'll run like a fake door test or do some like quick ads that can just show a little bit of numbers behind the intuition. Yeah.
I like this one here. How do you respond to PMs who don't like using simplified language because it's less accurate than the comprehensive, complex, confusing language that they like to use?
So I think it is very important, of course, to be collaborative with your PMs and take in their opinions. They understand the product at a deeper level than you do. But as a PMM, you're the voice of the customer. That's your role in the room, and that's your superpower. So if you keep responding to them saying, hey, if I don't understand this, our customers are not going to understand this. Or to that earlier point, if you can go and maybe do a quick message test with a few people and prove that this more accurate terminology is not resonating, people are not understanding what that is, that can also help a lot. And then ultimately, I'm going to quote my friend Elena Tyrell on that slide. Marketing is your superpower. You have to call the shots. It's your responsibility, really, to think about your customer. You want to make sure you're acting in their best interest, and it is in their best interest to use less complex terminology. So I think ultimately you're going to have to take that back from your PM in the nicest way possible and go with the messaging that makes most sense to you.
I like that. All right, 2 more questions, and then we'll get everyone out there to the happy hour. What are the top 3 tactics that actually, I like how they said actually, work in developer marketing?
That's funny, yeah. So I have limited experience with developer marketing. That's what I did at VMware. I think with developer marketing, they need to see the value of the first thing I would say is they need to see the value of your product in action. So the easier you can make for developers to self-serve from your website, maybe there's some open source piece of it that they could just go download and start using. Maybe you create like a simplified POC version that's very simple for them to spin up on their devices. The quicker you can, in the sales cycle, you can get the product in the hands of the developers, usually the better it is for developer marketing. The second one, which I think is really interesting, is more of a demographic characteristic, actually, about developers, which I find fascinating, is like me, they're they have, let's say, a very specific set of cultural references that they're very invested in and usually respond well to. So if your booth has like Star Trek or some kind of video game or something new and cool in the developer world that I probably don't even know of out there, that could attract them to come talk to you. It's not going to help your product if it's not something they see value in, but it could be like a way in at the door. And I would say the third thing that really works with developer marketing is communities. Developers are very strongly invested usually in open source ethos, in making code available for everybody, in working with others to improve their skills and improve their peer skills. So things like user groups, coding communities, if you can get your product out there, if you can build those communities, that should help. So that's from my very limited experience. I think the Alliance has some developer marketing specific stuff, so ask Rose.
Nice. This is a new one popped up. Are you excited for the Mistborn movie, Brandon Sanderson's first Cosmere book film?
Yeah. Oh
Nice.
my gosh,
All right.
who asked me this question? He also just made a gajillion dollars on Kickstarter, which we should ask him how to market things.